All right, we say good afternoon to David Heurtel in for James Meny. And David, we just talked to a CTV reporter on the Prime Minister's big announcement today as far as electrification goes. But the other big story is a meeting planned, I think, for tomorrow between him and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith in the wake of all this separation petition, the ruling by a judge that they couldn't move forward because Indigenous people have not been consulted. I thought I heard Danielle Smith today say the judge was wrong on this one, which in and of itself is a bit concerning. What's going on here?
Well, tomorrow's meeting is about pipelines and the price that is supposed to be given to industrial carbon. Anyways, this is all about paving the way for the eventual Alberta pipeline project. But now with this decision rendered by a judge in Alberta, now Danielle Smith is saying Alberta will be part of an appeal. But what this judge basically says is that the upcoming referendum cannot take place because First Nations were not consulted. The impact of the question itself makes it imperative that First Nations need to be consulted before the referendum actually takes place.
Right. That
did not happen. Therefore, according to this judge, it cannot. The referendum cannot go forward. Now, this will go to obviously the Court of Appeals. We'll see what happens there. But obviously, this takes all the oxygen from this meeting between Mark Carney and Danielle Smith tomorrow, which was going to be about energy. And by the way, today's announcement that you just discussed by Mark Carney is directly connected to the pipeline project and the negotiations between the federal government and Alberta in terms of being able to move forward on that project. Because what Mark Carney's doing today is talking about making energy affordable for all Canadians. And the reason why that's his theme today is that when you poll on that very question, if your energy bill goes down, would you be amenable to maybe softening or expediting environmental regulations to make sure that projects could go ahead? The polling in Quebec and across the country is overwhelmingly in favor of this. So there's definitely they're related here, but obviously we'll be talking about the referendum in Alberta. Mark Carney also has been very clear, pardon the pun, that the Clarity Act will apply, and so to this referendum if it does go ahead.
Which he also, I guess, alluded to, it being the same in Quebec, should we ever get to that stage, right?
Absolutely.
Did that set anyone's hair on fire today provincially?
No, not provincial. I mean, for the only issue a few weeks ago was about the question of 50 plus 1. Is 50 plus 1 enough? Now, the Clarity Act says that 50 plus 1 doesn't necessarily mean that it's a valid result. Now, it goes further than that, and it has to, under the Clarity Act, the federal parliament has to accept the results. But beyond that, there hasn't been, much reaction. Obviously, with the Parti Québécois right now, first of all, again, two polls clearly over the last 24, 36 hours, two polls coming out, and Philip J. Fournier on Quebec 125, his aggregate shows that the no vote has 68%. That's the aggregate when you count the undecided and you redistribute the undecided. There is absolutely no momentum there. So right now the PQ is not really trying to talk referendum these days.
Okay, I wonder too this issue of the pipeline, which you just brought up, which we may find out about tomorrow as well. So what does he do? He considers, or in order to go ahead, because you have to deal with the environmental concerns, as you pointed out. He declares this in the national interest, and that's the reason we move beyond this.
Well, tomorrow I don't want to get too much into technicalities, but there were some conditions. When a few months ago when they struck a very broad general agreement, right? there were still some points to be negotiated. There are two main points. One is the Pathways Project, which in Alberta is the project that is led by industry, actually, to set up some carbon capture for the oil sands that are ultimately extracted. And so that would reduce the carbon footprint, and that is tied also because there is a carbon price, industrial carbon price for fossils, and there's been a negotiation about what is the amount to be put on that price per ton of carbon. And now it seems that it's leaked out over the last few days that there seems to be an agreement on the price, and there should be also an agreement moving forward on the carbon capture project. So those were two stumbling blocks that were remaining for the federal government to come to an agreement with Alberta. There's obviously also there's still more to come. I mean, we still have the First Nations issue that is far from being resolved. But what you're seeing with this massive investment plan that includes investment in natural gas, by the way, that was announced today over the next 25 years, you have also a clear signal that the federal government is very serious about investing in our energy future. That means also investing in Alberta's energy future. So that's two birds with one stone, because for anything having to do with the referendum, it shows a positive sign coming from Ottawa, but also in terms of paving the way for massive investment in the pipeline project.
So I want to move on to this other story, which we've not talked about a lot, but citizens are going to love to hear this. A couple of former ministers today getting together proposing that cities increase their taxes in order to maintain their streets and water distribution networks. But I love the phrase in here, David. They say mayors must abandon their, quote, begging mentality and assume their responsibilities.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, and the irony, because who put all the mayors in this position of being beggars? It's been our successive provincial governments. And just to be clear, the report was ordered. The client here is l'Union des municipalités du Québec, which is the biggest lobby group for the major municipalities across Quebec, Montreal, Quebec City, Laval, et cetera, et cetera. So they hire Monique Jérôme Forget, who was Treasury Board President and Finance Minister under the Jean Charest Liberal government, and Nicolas Marceau, who was Finance Minister in the Marois PQ government. And what did both of these finance ministers do about the infrastructure deficit that we knew about back in the 2000s, and we've known this for 25 years, that we simply aren't financing enough our infrastructures? Remember the La Concorde Bridge in Laval that came down? Well, that was a long time ago. That was during the Charest government years. And so all of this to say, well, we need to raise taxes. We're going to have to, our municipalities are going to have to be more efficient, and governments have to give the tools to the municipalities and more money to municipalities. What did these two brilliant finance ministers do when they were in office? Zippo, zero, nothing. And so it's very easy to come and say this, but the fact is that we've known for decades that the municipalities don't have the tools. But what is true is that we're talking about a massive deficit in infrastructure, and the money simply isn't there. So either the municipalities have to be better managed. We know this. There's a lot of waste. There's a lot of inefficiency. We're talking, for example, that municipal employees are paid way better than Quebec civil servants, the provincial civil servants. Why is that? And there's a lot of inefficiency. We know this. We talk about this almost weekly. But it's not all there. The fact is that the provincial governments, one after the other, are not giving the powers for municipalities to tax, but it's gonna go higher. So think about water. We're in other jurisdictions, you pay for your water. You get a water bill. We're probably going to get to that point. We're going to get to other fees, and higher taxes because our infrastructures are in big trouble.
I guess we'll leave it at that. Again, it is kind of rich, isn't it, to have two former provincial ministers suggesting, hey, you know what, you cities, you got to do a better job, as if they had anything to help them with. Anyway.
Exactly. It's beyond laughable.
David, we'll leave it at that. I thank you. I appreciate it.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd.
And more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.